The courtroom was silent when the judge's gavel fell. Life, he declared, sentencing a young black teenager to spend forever behind bars. The boy's hands trembled as he reached for the phone, but when he called his father, the room froze, because his dad wasn't just any man, he was the United States Attorney General. For Jamal Rivers, life had never been easy. Growing up in a neighborhood where opportunity was scarce and temptation was everywhere, he tried his best to walk the right path. But one night changed everything. He was in the wrong place at the wrong time. A fight broke out near the corner store. Sirens wailed, and before Jamal could even explain, he was handcuffed. The charge? Armed robbery. Jamal had no weapon. He had no stolen goods, but the system didn't wait for answers. It rushed to judgment. And so, at just 17 years old, Jamal found himself standing trial for a crime he didn't commit. The trial was swift. Too swift. Witnesses who barely saw the incident pointed fingers. The prosecutor painted Jamal as a dangerous young man. His public defender stumbled through the motions. Jamal's mother wept in the gallery. His friends whispered that it wasn't fair. But the judge, he seemed unmoved. On sentencing day, the air was heavy. Jamal stood at the defense table, shackled, staring at the floor. The judge leaned forward, his voice cold. Jamal Rivers, for the crime of armed robbery, this court sentences you to life in prison. Gasps filled the room. Jamal's mother collapsed into sobs. Jamal's knees buckled, his world shattered. But then, Jamal asked for one thing. Your Honor, may I make a call? The courtroom buzzed. The judge raised an eyebrow but allowed it. With trembling fingers, Jamal picked up the phone, and when he said the words, the room went silent. Dad, they gave me life. On the other end of the line, a deep voice responded. Calm, steady, but carrying weight. I'll be right there. Whispers filled the courtroom. Who was Jamal calling? Then, as the doors opened, all became clear. A tall man in a dark suit stepped inside, flanked by federal agents. His face was familiar to anyone who watched the news. His title was one of the highest in the land. He was the U.S. Attorney General, and he was Jamal's father. The judge's gavel froze midair. The prosecutor's face turned pale. Even the bailiffs exchanged nervous glances. Jamal's father walked straight to the defense table, his presence commanding silence. He placed a reassuring hand on his son's shoulder before turning to the bench. Your Honor, he said, voice calm but laced with steel. We need to talk. What followed was unlike anything the small courthouse had ever seen. The Attorney General didn't yell. He didn't threaten. He simply laid down the facts. He pointed out the sloppy investigation, the lack of fingerprints, the absence of stolen goods, the shaky testimony from witnesses who admitted they weren't sure. He reminded the court, and everyone watching, that justice wasn't about speed. It was about truth. And then, with precision only a federal prosecutor could wield, he revealed something explosive. The real culprit had already been caught in another county, committing the same crime. He had confessed, and Jamal's name wasn't anywhere in the report. The courtroom erupted. Reporters scrambled, cameras flashed. The judge looked stricken, as though the ground had opened beneath him. The prosecutor buried his face in his hands. And Jamal? For the first time since the nightmare began, hope flickered in his eyes. As the truth unraveled, more came to light. The prosecutor had pushed for a conviction despite weak evidence. The judge had ties to political donors who praised tough sentencing. Jamal had been railroaded, a pawn in a system more concerned with appearances than justice. But with the Attorney General present, there was no hiding. Within days, the conviction was vacated. Jamal was free. But the story didn't end there. The prosecutor faced disbarment. The judge was investigated for misconduct, and the entire courthouse faced scrutiny it had never known before. Jamal's father didn't just free his son. He exposed a broken system, and the people who once whispered about Jamal now spoke his name with respect, not because of who his father was, but because of the truth that finally came to light. This story wasn't just about one teenager. It was about what happens when justice is rushed, when power is abused, when voices are silenced. Jamal was almost lost to a life behind bars. But in one phone call, the truth came roaring back. The judge said, life. But life had other plans, and, in the end, it was proof that sometimes justice needs more than laws. It needs courage. If this story gave you chills, make sure to like this video, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you never miss another story of justice, resilience, and redemption. Now I want to hear from you. If you were Jamal, would you have had the courage to speak up? Or would you have stayed silent, believing the system had already decided your fate? Comment your thoughts below, and remember, justice delayed is not always justice denied. Sometimes it just needs one voice, strong enough to shake the walls of power.